Continuing our conversation from earlier about cults and scams, we have to talk about Kari Lake. Kari Lake, who lost her attempt at becoming governor of Arizona, is still talking about suing to overturn the election. At this point, I don't even know if the people hosting her believe this drivel. Here is Kari Lake on with Tucker Carlson last night, and she is still acting like there's actually something going on here that might allow her to become the governor of Arizona. She won't. She won't. Listen to this.
We vote for a full month in Arizona with early ballots. And on election day, when the Republicans showed up, the election day voting was sabotaged. And
it was not sabotaged. A few tabulators briefly didn't work. They were fixed.
That's what our case is going to prove. It's a 70-page lawsuit that reads like a real crime novel.
Yeah, it reads like a crime novel in the sense that it's fiction. This was overall a bizarre interview. Here's how Tucker Carlson introduced Kari Lake. And he devoted 4.5 minutes to this, which on the one hand isn't a lot, but for a Fox News segment for something so absurd, they often will do 2-minute interviews. And this is a 4.5-minute interview. We won't watch all of it. Don't worry. I won't subject you to that.
According to official tallies, Kari Lake lost her bid to become the next Arizona governor by just over 17,000 votes. That's a tiny margin in a big state. Now Lake is suing the state's election officials. She says many ballots were not properly counted. She also says her opponent, then Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, worked illegally with big tech to silence voters online. And for the record, that appears to be true.
There is not actually evidence of that.
Lake is also citing widespread printer failures in Maricopa County, also true. She says they prevented people from voting. Maricopa County claimed they didn't stop anyone from voting, but has not responded further. We reached out to Katie Hobbs.
Now, understand the way they manipulate language. Maricopa County has said they did not prevent anyone from voting, but they have not responded further. It is not on them to respond further. Kari Lake has not actually presented evidence of that. These folks, I want to say they don't understand. They certainly pretend, at least, not to understand burden of proof.
Hobbs' office and got no reply at all. Kari Lake joins us tonight. Kari Lake, thanks so much for coming on.
What an important conversation we're going to have.
So Maricopa County, as far as I understand it, does not deny that a huge number of printers didn't work on election day, but they're saying it had no effect?
I don't know what Kari Lake's going to say here. We're going to check it out in a moment. Remember, they don't deny it. The Republican Party filed a lawsuit initially over the broken tabulators. Once they were satisfied, a few tabulators briefly didn't work. Everyone who wanted to vote voted. Everything was okay. The Republican Party retracted that lawsuit. People are satisfied other than Kari Lake.
Well, and it had a huge effect, obviously, Tucker. Our voters were showing up on election day. That was no secret. And the minute the polls opened, the wheels fell off. The ballot printers weren't working. There wasn't enough toner in the printers. The tabulators weren't working. It became a debacle. And the lines started forming right away. Some of the lines, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And there's video of people walking out of line. People told us, and this is in our lawsuit, that they showed up, they couldn't even find parking because the parking lots were full and the lines were long, and many people didn't even get to vote. And those who did vote, when they went up to get the printer out, the printer didn't have toner in it, so the ballots weren't dark enough. And our voters were showing up and voting 3-1 for me on election day.
Think of that. That none of that is even remotely believable, and there's no evidence for any of it. But listen, she's filed a lawsuit, so I guess at some point it'll all come out, right? Like Mike Pillow used to always say. Remember Pillow?
We're doing a class action lawsuit against all machines.
And yet the information never seems to make its way out.
Vote for a full month in Arizona with early ballots.
All right, and this is the segment that you already heard. Kari Lake then appearing on Real America's Voice, again, to give an update on this lawsuit. Now, again, I just don't know. Does Kari Lake really believe this is going to go anywhere, or is it just a way to raise money? Because if you actually look below in these tweets, she responds, donate to my legal fund, Save Arizona Fund. Is this just another grift to try to make money, or does she genuinely believe this might go anywhere? Listen to this update from her.
We had 3 whistleblowers from Maricopa County reach out and say the system is flawed, seriously flawed. The 3 levels they have to determine if a signature is valid or not, they were throwing out tens of thousands of signatures saying they were scribbles, they in no way matched. But somewhere between there and the ballots being completely tossed out, they got looped back into the system and counted as if they were fine.
This is crazy. Are you even sometime between the mismatch on the signature she claims exists and the ballots being tossed, they were counted as if they were fine? So is the problem that ballots were counted or weren't, Kari? I guess it's both.
And they had no flagging done. And they laid it out how that happened, how somewhere between being flagged as a bad signature and going into the curing process, which would mean
they were cured, sauteed, and later cold smoked.
Phone calls or emails to the actual voter to see if they wanted to come in and verify their signature.
Dear God.
It wasn't happening. There was a disconnect there. And
there's a disconnect, all right. And part of the disconnect is, first, the problem was disenfranchisement. People didn't get to vote. Now the problem is too many people voted whose votes shouldn't actually count. Here's the real position, right? Her supporters weren't allowed to vote, and people who didn't really mean to vote for Katie Hobbs had their votes counted for Katie Hobbs. But I guess those would be her supporters, right? I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. If her supporters weren't allowed to vote and votes that weren't really for Katie Hobbs were counted for Katie Hobbs, those wrongfully counted votes for Katie Hobbs must have been her voters. So they were allowed to vote, except part of the argument is there wasn't. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because it doesn't make any sense.
3 whistleblowers said that they believe that a second level manager was pushing these rejected ballots, pushing them through as if they were approved. And we did some calculations, and we believe that up to 135,000 ballots were pushed through that should not have been pushed through. We're asking a judge to let us take a look at all of the...
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And again, I don't know whether she believes this crap or whether she just needs to get her followers to believe it. None of it makes sense. There's no evidence for all of it. It's 2020 all over again. Lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit. They're all thrown out. If and when something is actually granted, they'll say, no, 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 but you're just looking at those bogus ballots and just counting them again. We need to actually throw them out. It'll be the same thing. Nothing will happen. Kari Lake lost. Katie Hobbs is going to be the governor of Arizona. That's the bottom line. Sorry to people holding out hope, if there are actually any, that somehow Kari Lake will end up governor. It's as likely as that Trump will end up reinstated from 2020, which I guess some people believe will happen, but it's not going to. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can click the subscribe button below or above or wherever it is on your screen. And if you want to support my work even more strongly, the best way is to get a membership at joinpacman.com. and subscribe to the podcast for The David Pakman Show. There you can check out interviews, longer clips, and much more. It's on all the big podcasting platforms. Just search for The David Pakman Show, and all the links are also down below in the video description.